Welcome to Standard Theory. In the previous segment we discussed vertical thinking and subtractions. In this segment we will discuss the beginnings of horizontal thinking and intelligence. The experience of vertical thinking, impulse and subtractions on the Z scale is meant to create low energy or inverted versions of experience. In horizontal thinking and intelligence on the R scale, the purpose is to combine those low energy subtractions by converting them into high energy thoughts and, from there, obtaining unique, high energy patterns of intelligent experience. The Z0 scale does not necessarily keep track of the communication cycles individually, as each cycle will change with respect to the environment being experienced by the human at any given time. When using the R scale, though, there is the idea that each of the high energy processes are comprised of a specific amount of interval ratio information. Each of these intelligent ideas activates a specific amount of neurological or psychological processing with the same interval ratio unit. For this reason, the variability of the processes is dependent only on the subtractions that lead to the formation of the new, intelligent idea. In general, there are a certain number of processes occurring in the brain at any given time. The brain will use some method of comparison to determine whether there is more or less resources compared to a baseline number of processes occurring. In intelligence, the determination that an excess number of processes being available is a requirement. From there, the brain will use these excess resources to create a new, unique idea. This specific amount of information is referred to as a characteristic. The general process of combining low-energy subtractions into high-energy characteristics is referred to as intelligence. Intelligence is measured using the R scale. Each time the brain measures an excess amount of resource, the brain is able to combine an additional set of subtractions into a characteristic. The subtractions that the brain compares subsequently should also exist in an interval ratio unit. With each additional amount of excess resource, the brain has the capacity to experience an additional characteristic. In this case, the brain would be using that excess resource to process the first characteristic and then the second characteristic, then the third, and so on. Again, this depends on whether or not the brain perceives the amount of excess energy to be adequate enough to complete this process. According to standard theory, there is a specific ratio of times that the brain is able to perform this process of creating high-energy characteristics. The R scale measures this capacity by organizing characteristics from 1 to 117. The R scale also organizes the capacity of each of these using thinking types and communication types. The thinking type is determined by the number or magnitude of total activation the characteristics being experienced. There are 3 thinking types described by the R scale. Horizontal thinking deals with characteristics 1 through 9. Orthogonal thinking deals with characteristics 10 through 17. Absolute thinking deals with characteristics 27 through 117. Each thinking type contains a communication type, which describes the specific characteristics contained within. The communication types in horizontal thinking are silent, intimate, and social communication. In orthogonal thinking, the communication type is shared communicatin. In absolute thinking, the communication type is supersocial communication. Please join me in the next segment as we discuss more about horizontal thinking.